afternoon. On behalf of Green Jobs Oshawa, I would like to welcome everyone who is here in person and those who are watching us on Facebook Live. It is October 16th, 2021, and this is Climate Code Red Oshawa. This event is being co-hosted by Green Jobs Oshawa, the Council of Canadians, and the Durham Region Labour Council. We are in a Code Red climate emergency, and we're calling on the federal government to take action to create just transition legislation immediately. My name's Julia McCrea. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a member of Green Jobs Oshawa, Durham Region Labour Council Executive, and the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation District 13 Durham Executive. I'm an educational worker. As MC, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce both local and international labor and environmental activists to speak to you today. They are critically concerned and organizing to ensure a just transition as our economy necessarily shifts from gas, oil, coal, and fossil fuel production and its uses. We, as individuals, family members, community members, workers, and union members, have important roles working together to ensure we have a say in the change that is happening and needs to happen. I'm honored to represent Green Jobs Oshawa, an organization that successfully mobilized the Oshawa community to demand that GM Canada open their idle plant for production of PPE masks needed by everyone for COVID-19 pandemic health and safety, and which created much needed work for laid off workers. First, to acknowledge the Indigenous lands we meet on. Anin, Sego, Bonjour. We in Green Jobs Oshawa are settlers on the territories of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. We are governed by the Williams Treaty. We acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas and other Indigenous peoples who make this area home from across Turtle Island for sharing their territory and lands so that we can come together in a good way. Our demand today is for the immediate passing of just transition legislation that protects and strengthens human rights and workers' rights, respects Indigenous rights, sovereignty, and knowledge by including everyone together in creating and implementing this legislation, ensuring migrant justice and emphasizing support for historically marginalized communities. We're meeting here at 103 Simcoe Street South in Oshawa. Behind us is the inspiring Just Transition mural created by artist Bruno Smoky this summer. It symbolizes the leadership and critical role of the diversity of working people and labor unions in addressing climate change and the huge transition that is necessary to shift to socially necessary production immediately. Our first speaker today is Pam Parks from CUPE, Canadian Union of Public Employees, Local 6364 at Lakeridge Health, Oshawa. Pam is a practical nurse and hero on the front lines of the emergency department. She's also a member of the executive of the Durham Region Labour Council. Executive, Pam.
Julia, thank you very much. As Julia said, my name is Pam Parks. I'm a registered practical nurse at the Oshawa Hospital. I've been a nurse for 35 years. You may ask, why is a nurse out here speaking about climate change? The heading says it all. We're in a code red situation. At the hospital, we use a lot of codes and all. Before and during COVID, we're in a code red lockdown. We're all going about life in our own way, being free and carefree, working, taking vacations, going to our local establishment, taking our kids to school and the parks. Then COVID hit us and the world stopped. For this nurse who thought she's seen everything devastating in healthcare, and as a group we pulled through it. If we need personal protective equipment, we just grab it and go look after your patients. Throughout the early parts of COVID, masks were under lock and key. Whoever thought that would happen, that you need to fight for your protection? Well, right here in this region, we had to fight for our protection. We had to, thank goodness we have our unions and our strong health and safety team that were out there advocating for our workers and the patients alike. We shouldn't have to fight for what we need. And why is that? Because the government, in their wisdom over the years, of outsource the production that happens around our country. And then when push come to shove with COVID-19, we were forced to beg and go around different countries to try and get the equipment that we need. That is very shameful. The union leaders, along with their health and safety reps, were advocating minute by minute, talking to the employer that they were being unreasonable and they should be providing a safe working environment for us all. Then the government announced we're short N95s, but once again they found some locked away in some storage that were expired. They didn't have them out for us to use. And us as workers, as healthcare workers, over the years that we see in the hospitals, I'm a hospital worker, but we saw the devastation that this caused in our community with our loved ones, our elderlies, the workers. They died. They'll never come back. What do we do in that? We say we're sorry. We call healthcare heroes, workers heroes. We don't want words about heroes. We want the protection for all, so that if this COVID-19 or any other pandemic comes around, we will never, ever have to beg, plea for any of our working conditions to be safe, to protect. I went into nursing 35 years ago because I thought I could make a difference. I still think I'm making a difference along with my co-workers, but we need the tools to work with. And we should not be begging and pleading for the respect. Our workers or government do not give us any respect. Please help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Our next message is a recorded message and a video. You'll hear the audio recording from Steve Murphy, President of the Australian Manufacturers Workers Union.
G'day to the Council of Canadians. I'm Steve Murphy. I'm the National Secretary of the Australian Manufacturing Workers Union. We're on opposite sides of the world, but our struggle is the same. I want to send solidarity to all of you for the important work that you're doing to make sure that workers have a stronger, louder voice and that we're able to deliver secure jobs as our economy changes and our energy needs change along with them. The climate debate in Australia was hijacked by mining bosses and politicians that wanted to whip up fear and conflict in working class communities. They wanted us to choose between a healthy environment and jobs, and we know that that's not where the conflict exists. Private capital exploit labour and the environment every day. Working together, we built an alliance of community, environment and union groups that were going to work together to make sure that workers had voice and they had justice in any transition, and that we were building a community that was sustainable. I wish you a positive and ambitious conference. If there's anything that working class people need right now, it's ambition. I also want to say, don't be afraid to reach out to share advice or to extend solidarity. We can have climate action and job creation.
Now have a recorded message from Colin Long from the Victorian Trades Council in Australia.
This solidarity message comes from Victorian Trades Council in Melbourne, Australia. We're the peak body for unions in the state of Victoria. My name's Colin Long, but I bring solidarity greetings from the Secretary of our hall, Luke Hilakari. Green Jobs Oshawa is inspiring to us. It's the kind of initiative, the kind of union and community movement that we need if we are to make the changes that are necessary to avoid catastrophic climate change, and to make those changes in a way that puts the interests of workers and their communities front and centre. We fully support Green Jobs Oshawa's demand for socially beneficial work. We're tired of decisions about the economic and climate futures of our communities being taken by unaccountable corporations focused only on profit rather than on what workers and their communities need. We support Green Jobs Oshawa's demand for safe, well-paying and secure jobs in work that will help create a greener, fairer and more just world. Victorian unions express our solidarity to Green Jobs Oshawa in your efforts, which are an inspiration to all those unionists fighting for a just transition around the world.
And our next speaker is Chris Borgia. He is the interim president of the Durham Region Labour Council. He's also a member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 353, based here in Oshawa, and also responsible for our sound system here today, as well as our tent, which looks like it might take off with the local weather we're having here. So, thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much, Julia. Hello all, I'm Chris Borgia, as stated, first VP with the Durham Region Labour Council, filling in for Tiffany Balducci. We wish her well on her maternity leave. I'm so proud that this event is taking place right here in Durham Region. For a just transition to work, we must be united and work in solidarity to move toward this goal together. We must make sure that all people are taken care of. We are already seeing the effects of the damages our species is causing. 153 forest fires in northwestern Ontario alone this year. This past year, a snowstorm in Texas shut down manufacturing of key construction materials, which affected construction here in Canada. Climate change is having a global impact. It is a cascading effect. Changes to our environment, we will see an increase in our climate refugees and interruptions to our global supply chains. When will you act? When it's at your front door? Well, I'm sorry to tell you, it already is. We can make a just transition now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. And the next speakers we have are recorded messages from Amanda Harvey-Sanchez with Climate Justice Toronto.
Hi, my name is Amanda. I'm an organizer with Climate Justice Toronto, a community engaged researcher at the University of Toronto, and an educator. I'm so excited and inspired by the work that Green Jobs Oshawa is doing to push for a just transition in the city of Oshawa and across Canada more broadly. Most of my work in climate justice has been with youth climate justice activists, but as we often say in the climate movement, to change everything, it takes everyone. The climate crisis and a just transition is about so much more than just shifting away from fossil fuels and towards renewable energy. It's about questioning fundamental pillars of how we organize our ways of life, from politics to economics to society, so that we might actually build something more equitable and beautiful for everyone. Embarking on such a project requires building a multiracial, intergenerational working class movement. The Brazilian trade unionist and environmentalist Chico Mendes once said that environmentalism without working class struggle is just gardening, and I think he was right. Green Jobs Oshawa is playing a crucial role in a just transition by addressing through concrete engagement with working class people the conversion of existing facilities towards the kinds of production essential to address climate change. We all need to find our front line in the climate crisis, and I think Green Jobs Oshawa has found theirs.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Our next speaker is Emma Jackson, who's coming to us from Edmonton with the organization Climate Justice Edmonton, and it's a recorded video.
Hi everyone, my name is Emma Jackson. I'm a climate justice organizer here on Treaty 6 territory in Namaskwichiwaskayagan, also known as Edmonton, Alberta. I am sending all of my support and love to Green Jobs Oshawa, who I deeply admire and have, been watching for a long time from afar. Organizations like Green Jobs Oshawa have really been leading the way in showing us how we can tackle the climate crisis at the scale that is required by democratizing all aspects of our economy, pulling already existing facilities into public ownership, retooling them in order to build the economy of tomorrow that works for all of us and not just the wealthy few. So thank you, and all my love and solidarity.
Thank you, Emma. Okay, our next speaker is Tony Liat, who's a long-term organizer here with Green Jobs Oshawa.
Thanks, Julia. We are in a climate crisis, and it's a consequence of profit-driven expansion of fossil fuel extraction and burning. To correct this, we can't leave power in the hands of corporate executives. They always act in their own interests, not ours. And that is to the detriment of workers and communities. We have seen that here in Oshawa. In 2019, General Motors announced the end of vehicle production in Oshawa. GM executives in Detroit made that decision, but the impact was felt here and in Detroit Hamtramck and in other plants in the United States and in other countries. Green Jobs Oshawa was a movement born of the demand that democracy means workers' voices must be heard. Workers and communities must make the decisions that affect our lives. Green Jobs Oshawa demanded that the manufacturing plant come under public ownership to ensure that there was production for social need, not for corporate profits. We advocated the use of the plant in Oshawa and the workers and skills in this community to manufacture battery electric vehicles for government fleets. We advocated operating on the basis of a triple bottom line, and we commissioned a feasibility study that showed that it was possible and that the benefits would be to workers, to the community, to meeting the climate challenge and moving towards sustainable economies, and that could be done. But it takes governments and communities and workers having the power to make those decisions. They won't be made by corporations. Green Jobs Oshawa was not successful in 2019 in getting governments to take the action we need, but we did take a step in building the movement that is required now and in the future. In 2020, General Motors announced that they were going to restart pickup truck assembly in Oshawa. However, they made that decision in their interests, not ours. They are retaining the power to turn off the switch whenever they want, whenever they decide. General Motors is going to be manufacturing gas-guzzling pickup trucks, for which there is no future and which is against the needs that we have in meeting the climate crisis. And thirdly, GM was able to get rid of workers who were making $36 an hour and had pensions for secure retirement, and now is replacing them with workers making $23.67 an hour with no defined benefit pension and no post-retirement health care benefits. These are the consequences of allowing corporations to make the decision instead of democratic public bodies. Green Jobs Oshawa fully supports the Climate Code Red Week of Action called by the Council of Canadians. We are helping circulate the petition, which is demanding that our federal government enact meaningful just transition legislation, that must include a significant role for public ownership, because that is the only way that workers in our communities will be making the decisions rather than corporations acting for their own profits. Jobs and the climate need not be in conflict, but only if governments act in our interest can we ensure that there are good, meaningful jobs for workers, development for our communities, and a just transition to a new, green, sustainable economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, for those inspiring words. Okay, our next presentations, and we're now being deluged by rain, is going to be an audio recording from Eric Truss, who's a United Auto Worker member of Local 600 in the United States of America.
Hi folks, my name is Eric Truss. I'm with UAW Local 600, and today I'm talking to you about going green and green products. I would like to say for this that I'm advocating for Auto Workers Caravan, Auto Worker Caravan is a group of UAW members that traveled to Washington in 2008 to go lobby with Congress to save jobs and to create factories into green, productive industrial plants. You know, I was a veteran and I fought for my country. But now we all have to do our part. You know, we all say that the war is on terrorism, but now the war is on environment. Environment is now our new enemy. And the only way to do that is to go green with a lot of our products and things that are in the world. And one thing the auto industry can do to help is go green in conversion of plants. Thank you.
And Sam Mason from the new Lucas plan in the United Kingdom, which was where aerospace workers were also involved in a plan for just transition.
Hello, my name is Sam Mason. I'm a trade unionist and activist in the UK and a member of the new Lucas Plan project. We are a project that was born out of the experience of the former Lucas aerospace workers in the 1970s, who developed an alternative corporate plan in the face of factory closures and the threat of job losses, and a way to re-envisage their work for socially and ecologically useful production. We are particularly inspired today to hear of the plans and efforts by Green Jobs Oshawa to use a similar process to put forward ideas for not just repurposing their jobs, but also for a public manufacturing facility, which is an approach which we think is very much needed in terms of developing the goods and things that we need to respond to a multiple of crises, but particularly to the climate crisis. Solidarity.
Hey there, my name is Robin Tress. I'm a campaigner with the Council of Canadians and one of the organizers of the Climate Code Red Week of Action. It's an honor to work with Green Jobs Oshawa and count these organizers as my friends and allies. These folks have incredible vision for what the future of manufacturing and public life can look like, and they're diligently working to build support for that vision. A just transition in Canada means winding down the fossil fuel industry, taking care of the workers and communities that are affected by that change, and so much more. It means reimagining our manufacturing sector so we can create the things we need to drive that transition, like buses and trains for public transit, masks and PPE for healthcare and frontline workers, and other products that will help us care for each other and the planet we live on. To tackle the climate crisis and to take good care of each other in the process, we need thoughtful and visionary leaders like Green Jobs Oshawa in the lead. This group has been an important contributor to a network of locally rooted campaigns for a just recovery and Green New Deal, and they've shared their organizing experience and connections with allied organizers across the country. They've convened important conversations with people from across climate, labor, and environmental justice movements in Ontario, across Canada, and around the world. They've pushed the envelope and broadened the conversation about what our just transition can accomplish. So I want to express my gratitude to Green Jobs Oshawa for their work and continued commitment to building a just transition.
So I want to thank everyone for attending here today, especially in our changing weather conditions. As good organizers, we urge you to take today's messages back to your homes, your communities, your workplaces, to share and to act by signing the petition, checking out the Green Jobs Oshawa website and our Facebook page, and working in solidarity with our co-hosts, the Council of Canadians and the Durham Region Labour Council, as we organize, develop, and take actions that together will ensure a just transition addressing climate change. Thank you very much.